I think most people here want to see us grow a little bit, and that's what we've done. I would like to see us continue to fill out and reach that peak with our wastewater treatment plant.
Welcome to episode 67 of the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. I'm your host, Ed Skimming. We begin today's episode by thanking the LoraineCounty.com champion sponsors, Loraine County JVS, Emerge Inc., Community Foundation of Loraine County Community College, WOBL Radio, and Loraine County Commissioners. Today we're talking with Mayor Gary Kincannon, Mayor of LaGrange Village. Join us as Mayor Kincannon shares what makes LaGrange unique, from its historical divide between older and newer sections to the priorities his administration is focused on today. He discusses infrastructure upgrades, housing development, and maintaining the community's quality of life. He also reflects on his career in teaching, his leadership style, and his personal interests. Like many in Loraine County, I've passed through LaGrange countless times on trips to Columbus, Dayton, and Cincinnati. On at least one occasion, my family and I stopped at LaGrange Village Pizza as a final treat on our way home from vacation. I first met Gary back in 2003, when he was serving as president of LaGrange Village Council, and our firm, Emerge Inc., was hired to develop a joint website for the village and township. That project gave me an early look at his leadership and his commitment to the community he serves. Here is my conversation with Mayor Gary Kincannon.
My name is Gary Kincannon. I'm the mayor of the Village of LaGrange.
Welcome, Mayor Kincannon. Thank you for joining us and sharing your insights. To begin with, how would you describe LaGrange Village, and what do you think makes it a unique place?
I grew up in Loraine County. I grew up in LaGrange, and it's always been the northern part of the county and the southern part of the county. And we call it the U.S. Route 20 divide. Anything south of Route 20 is a whole different county. Mainly LaGrange, Grafton, and Wellington, and somewhat Oberlin. We lean on each other for how we do things. And I think LaGrange is right there, and we're right in the middle. I think we have two towns, in my view. I grew up in the old part of town, 2 blocks from here on Church Street. This is the older part of town. And for years and decades, it was just the older part of town. And all of a sudden, we started growing to the north, and that's the newer part of town. And there are differences. There's difference in attitude from people that grew up in the old part of town. So I think that makes us definitely special. Everyone in town is really depressed about IGA closing, and everybody's offering to help. That's what LaGrange is all about as well.
What are some of the key priorities and initiatives that you and your administration are focused on right now in the village?
I became mayor under sad circumstances when Mayor Strauss passed away, but Mayor Strauss and I always shared a lot of the same visions. And to me, taking care of streets seem to be one of the things that really get the native population going. And I don't blame them. No one wants to live on a street that's full of potholes. My first priority was we're going to get Railroad Street done, which we did. We're going to get Loperwood Lane done, which we did. And the next in line, the street I grew up on, Church Street. That's a little more difficult because we have storm sewers we have to fix there as well. I would plan on being here a couple more years as mayor. I would like to get my old street fixed before I leave. Those are my big priorities. But to keep businesses in town, obviously, any town's going to have that vision to make sure we not only keep what we have, but try to bring more in. And in doing that, for one of the first things I did, I got in touch with Jobs Ohio. My village administrator, Mary Kay Gates, and I, we sat down with Jobs Ohio and spent an afternoon talking with them and going over all of our empty buildings, empty commercial or business buildings, and any lots that might be available. We really tried to push that.
You mentioned the 2 different LaGranges. What's your approach to housing developments, and how do you balance growth with protecting LaGrange's overall quality of life?
Yeah, that's another big one here in LaGrange. How do you balance, and how much development do you want, and what type of development do you want? My view of LaGrange, when I grew up here, it was 1 square mile, and old LaGrange, 1 square mile. And shortly after, I guess when I was in college, they annexed the land to the north and built IGA and Loperwood Lane and a lot of things up going north, and it's just continued ever since then. We have had a big expansion of apartments in LaGrange. We have another development going in now with apartments and some more Ryan homes off Biggs Road eventually. And a lot of people were against apartments. A lot of people said, we don't want apartment dwellers here. It was like they're some kind of bad guys or something. My first thing out of my mouth was, okay, raise your hand if you've never lived in an apartment. And we've all, in some kind of transition from graduating high school or college to buying a house, we've all lived in an apartment. So don't give me that they're bad guys. Yeah, we do have apartments coming. We have more housing coming, but not to go into a lot of detail. We've done a study on our wastewater treatment plant. We know how many new homes that plant can absorb. We know exactly how many. And within our village limits right now, we have enough space. We can cover any homes built in our current space. Avoiding any future annexations, which I don't foresee, the sewer plant caps us off. It caps our growth off. And I'm content with the population or the number of houses that might occur. And we want to make sure we keep a little extra capacity at the sewer plant. If we go past and we have to expand the sewer plant, we're talking about a 24/7 operation, which now it's not. It would be very costly. And so I don't view that happening, at least probably not even in my lifetime.
When you talk with residents, what are some of the common concerns they raise and what positive feedback or ideas do they share?
A lot of people have decent ideas. I guess one of the biggest questions is infrastructure. Are we keeping up? Traffic in town. Believe it or not, we have our own little LaGrange rush hour, and it's worse when school's in session because Keystone campus is here in the village, with high school, middle school, elementary school. And we're sitting here in the old Keystone High School, middle school, which I graduated from. There's no busing except for elementary kids and maybe a few middle school. So during school session in the morning and afternoon, we really have a huge traffic issue, especially with the trains blocked, both 301, 303, East Main and South Center Street. They get backed up all the way around the circle. And I read Facebook. I don't post on Facebook, but I read it. And we get a lot of people complaining about, well, you're going to build more houses and it's just going to bring more traffic. I watch the traffic, and traffic doesn't stop in town. It keeps going. I don't know where it goes, but we're a conduit down to Interstate 71 and everything south of here. Yeah, I think one of our issues and one of the things I read and hear about the most would be traffic and speeding. And I think in general, since COVID, I think people have just become a little less respectful.
You mentioned Keystone School District. How does the village collaborate and support the local schools?
We have a new superintendent, Zach Weegley, and I've always gotten along very well with the superintendents. I was on council 26 years and graduated from Keystone Schools. I taught in Westlake schools for 35 years. And then after I retired, I subbed over here at Keystone for 5-6 years. So I've always known all the superintendents going way back, and a collaboration right now with the new superintendent, Zach Lee, was very good. Yeah, we have a good relationship with the schools, and we try to help them. They try to help us now.
What's your approach to partnerships? Can you talk about some of your partnerships with the other townships, the mayors, county commissioners, other community leaders?
I talked about Lorain County, south of US 20, and just the rural part of the county. I'm the only one from the southern part of the county that goes to Lorain County Mayors and Village Administrators Association meetings. And I made a point of starting to do that as soon as I became mayor, just because I wanted to see what was going on in the northern part of the county and also to see how they handled certain issues. And you get to talk to the Lorraine's mayor, Jack Bradley, you get to talk to Illyria's mayor, Avon Lake, Amherst. We all have the same kind of problems, just a smaller proportion, so population-wise. So yeah, that's eye-opening. Just getting started with the Ohio Rail Commission. I applied to them to look for an overpass, underpass for one of our crossings in the township or village, and they had selected us as one they were going to study. For whatever reason, back in February, March, a lot of those grants for different things dried up, changed in Washington, and we got an email saying, well, we're putting everything on hold because we don't know where the federal money is going to be. So that's something that's disappointing for me because that was something that we have a problem. We have both crossings blocked and the schools on the south side. We need an easier, quicker way to get there. And that was what I was hoping. You know, Amherst started a quiet zone. We would like to have a quiet zone. As I was council president, I've been looking into it, but they're fairly expensive.
What is a quiet zone?
They don't have to blow their whistles when they come through. We had Norfolk Southern before until CSX bought them out years ago, and their whistles are a lot louder than the previous ones. But that would require, I think, some collaboration with LaGrange Township also, which we split the park with the township. We split Opportunity Way, which goes back to the high school. That's a partnership with the township also. So we work together a lot. And I think a quiet zone would require working with the township because we could stop the whistles at our 2 state crossings. Wheeler Road and some of the other crossings impact the village and township residents. So it'd be better to enlist the township in that endeavor, which I would like to get that started. But, you know, at the Lorain County Mayor's meetings, Amherst brought 2 citizens. They started from scratch and they did the whole Elyria Township and the Amherst Township and the city of Amherst. They got that turned into a quiet zone. Good for them. And I've got all their information how they did it. We don't exactly have those kind of resources.
So that would mean the trains don't blow their horns, but then you provide blockages to the roads?
Yeah, there's very strict regulations on how you can do it.
What are the biggest opportunities for LaGrange Village?
I think most people here want to see us grow a little bit. And I would like to see us continue to fill out and reach that peak that I was talking about with our wastewater treatment plant. And I'm happy with that. We don't want to become a city. In Ohio, you become a city when you hit 5,000. Then you have to bring in a full building department. You have to have all these extra departments. It's very expensive. But we don't want to do that. We hire a solicitor now. We'd have to have a law director. And we're about 2,600 people now.
Let's switch over and talk a little bit about you. I know you mentioned being a teacher and on council. What is your background and what made you decide to first become mayor?
We moved to LaGrange from Tennessee when I was 2 years old in 1953, less than a block from here. I graduated from Keystone and I graduated associate degree at LCC. Then I got my bachelor's degree from Ohio University. And then I got a master's degree from Ashland University. And it got stuck in Westlake to do my student teaching because if you lived around Cleveland, you had to student teach in Cuyahoga County. So they placed me there. That was a good deal because I got hired right away.
What made you decide to get into city government?
My wife and I moved out. She didn't want to live in LaGrange, and so we lived in Elyria for a couple of years. A friend of mine actually put in Taylorwood Development, Richard Taylor, and I talked to Richard right away, and my wife's on board. So we came back in 1992. I was the head girls basketball coach at Westlake at the time, so I was really busy. But then I resigned from that job in 96, and it just so happens when there was an opening on council. And I said, well, I'm teaching government and social studies in general, and so I'll try to go interview for this job. It was about 1996, about in August, when they gave me the job of the open seat. Been a long, strange trip since then, but February of 23, I guess, Mayor Strauss passed away. I was council president for a number of years, so I became mayor. And then I ran and got elected. But I told the employees I was doing it for them for one term, and then that's it. I'm 74 now. So when this term ends, I'm going to be 76, and I think time to turn it over to people. I'm not doing that old man politician.
How would you describe your leadership style? What principles shape how you lead, and who has influenced your leadership style the most?
My leadership style goes back to the teaching, and I always thought there were steps involved with anything. If I had a problem with a student, I would talk to the counselor first, and if it continued, I would talk to the assistant principal. If it continued, I would talk to the principal. If it ever got to the superintendent, that was bad times. But I'm the same way, and I encourage my employees. We have a head of maintenance. I'm a bottoms-up guy. It's her problem to settle, and if she can't settle it, they go to the village administrator. If they can't settle it, they come to me. There's no reason for them to come to me right away. Everybody's got responsibility. My maintenance supervisor understands the rules and regulations of her employees better than I do. I'll let her handle it. If it gets to me eventually, I'll take care of it. And believe me, a lot of it has gotten to me. That's my leadership style.
Both on council and as mayor, what are you most proud of accomplishing?
Well, over the years, and it's never a one-person deal, I helped build the park from the very beginning, our community park. I think Township Trustee Gary Burnett and I are the only two left of the original people who actually were here when we bought the land and helped from scratch to make the park what it is. A lot of work was done there in volunteer work. I'm also proud that we brought the Keystone campus to the village. And I know the state was encouraging campus-style school districts at the time. The money they were offering for building new schools tied to having that campus feel. And that's what we have. And I think we have a beautiful Keystone campus there. And going back about 4 or 5 superintendents, I put it right in the ear of Gary Freed a long time ago, back in the 90s. When you guys are done with your campus, we want this building. And that's what we have. It's more expensive to be here, but you can't build a structure like this solid.
Outside of City Hall, what are your hobbies and interests, and how do they help recharge you?
Whenever we have a chance, my wife and I do like to travel. And I spend an awful lot of my time outside of here going to my grandkids' sporting events. And my grandson plays travel baseball. Both granddaughters played travel volleyball. And both my daughters played volleyball for Keystone. And that's a family sport there. But see, I spend a lot of time, if you know anything about travel, from April all the way through July, every weekend is baseball. Then in wintertime, every weekend is volleyball. So we spend a lot of time, and it's something I enjoy doing with my grandkids, as I think most grandparents do. But I also golf. 2 years ago, I had health issues. I had hip surgery, hip replacement, and an open heart surgery 2 years ago. So I did not golf for a whole year and missed that. Just now getting back into the groove.
Finally, where can people go to get more information on LaGrange Village and connect with you?
I've got our website, villageoflagrangeohio.gov. You can always get there from lagrangeohio.net.
Thanks, Mayor Kincannon, for joining us and sharing your insights.
My pleasure. Anytime. Thank you.
Thank you for listening to the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast. Each episode, we share conversations with the people shaping life in Lorain County, from business and government to education, nonprofits, healthcare, and entertainment. Be sure to follow or subscribe on your favorite podcast platform so you never miss an episode. You can also visit LoraineCounty.com to discover local events, volunteer opportunities, and more community resources. If you know someone who's making a difference in Lorain County, send us a note at podcast@LoraineCounty.com. We would love to share their story and insights. Special thanks to our producer, Leah Gerke, and to you for listening. This has been the LoraineCounty.com Insights Podcast, conversations with the people shaping Lorain County.